Hey, my name is Kenneth Hayes, and I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to watch my video. I want to give you some quick housekeeping rules, if you will, or at least warnings. I'm sitting out on my porch in beautiful Cuenca, Ecuador, recording this video on a cloudy Sunday morning. I'm wearing my sunglasses because I'm kind of expecting the sun to come peeking through at some point, and my eyes are sensitive to the light. Sitting right next to me is our beloved French Bulldog Pork Chop. And please know that he may erupt in a howling fit at any moment, and I can't control it. So if he does, we'll try to manage through that. Also, we've got some neighbors. Somebody in the neighborhood has been firing off fireworks all evening, or excuse me, all night, and has been continued into today. So you might hear those booms in the background, as well as other noises of traffic and sounds that are just typical to the city down here. But I am a I am a former evangelical fundamentalist Christian. I spent 35 years of my life from the age of 19 until whenever you can do the math uh, as a Christian. 25 of those 35 years were dedicated towards pastoral ministry. I pastored in four different churches, senior pastor in three, associate pastor in one. Two of the churches I pastored were Baptist, and two of them were non-denominational. And but about 20 years ago, I began to go through some changes in my life, and that brought me to the point where I'm at today. What I would like to talk about this morning are specifically two Christian doctrines that really played a very heavy handed influence in my life. And even after I physically walked away from Christianity, before I even realized I was moving towards atheism, these two doctrines hung on. They were like ghosts in my life. The two doctrines, very quickly, are moral depravity, or the idea of original sin. And the second one is, I call it apocalypticism, or deserved judgment. A lot of people refer to it as eternal conscious torment. But this idea that because you're such an awful person, because you're such a bad, your nature so morally depraved, there's no goodness in you, none whatsoever. You're just born bad, bad to the bone, as the old rock song used to say. But because you're born morally depraved, you're helpless, you're hopeless in changing that depravity, and consequently, God is fully justified in sending me and everybody else in the whole world to an eternal conscious torment, a place of eternal conscious torment, aka hell or the lake of fire, or whatever you want to call it. Those two doctrines resonated with me when I was a late teen, when I became a Christian. And they resonated with me because um, it seemed to me natural that I was a bad person. I was born or raised in a very dysfunctional home. My family was filled with a lot of emotional abuse. There was a lot of physical violence, a lot of substance abuse. And so consequently, by the time I got into my teens, man, I just felt like my life was just shit, to be candid. And as a consequence, and by the way, I need to check my microphone. It's off. No, it's still working. Yeah, so these Bluetooth microphones are cheap, and they may not hold up. I hope they do. But anyway, so by the time I'd heard the gospel explained to me for the first time, the good news of Christianity, that I am a worthless person, have no value unless God gives me value, and that I deserved all the torture he could possibly muster, and apparently he can muster a lot. You know, it resonated with me. Yeah, Ken, you're a sinner. You deserve it. You don't really deserve anything good. The only goodness you can get is by the out of the just pity of God. And there's the fireworks going off. And so that resonated with me. And then a lot of Christian indoctrination is predicated on those ideas, or just reinforced. You have to keep coming back to the cross. You have to keep coming back to Jesus. You have to keep coming down to the altar calls. You have to always be recognizing that your life has no value apart from God. I'm reminded of the verses in Galatians chapter 2. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live, I live by the faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. In other words, your humanity is worthless. And unless you yield to, unless you submit to this idea that you're a horrible person, then really you can't have any meaning, you can't have any purpose, and you certainly don't have any value in the eyes of God or in the eyes of Christian doctrine. And you deserve the punishment that you're going to get. So those ideas just stuck with me, even when I physically walked away from Christianity before I even realized I was moving towards atheism. I struggled with those ideas because they formed the basis of how I viewed myself as a person. So I don't want to I don't want to just stay on those doctrines. I want to talk about how I was able to replace those bad ideas with better ideas. The concept that I replaced depravity or being a sinner, what I replaced that with was the acceptance of my humanity. I consider myself to be an evolved primate. I am a Homo sapien. I'm a human. I have I was born on this planet like the other however many billions of humans that have been born onto this planet in a state of humanity, not with some kind of a divine curse on me. This wasn't an easy process for me. It wasn't overnight. I did have some epiphanal moments where I was able to understand the difference between being a sinner and being a human. But really, the crux of it all was my ability to develop this idea of acceptance of who I am as a person. This is me. I was born with all these flaws, all these potentials for failure. I have, this may come as a shock to some of you, but I have a limited amount of intellectualism. I have a limited amount or limited ability to manage my emotional self. In some ways, I am the product of my nature, and it will be reflected in good ways, and will be reflected in bad ways. Sometimes I will act out on my bad self, and sometimes I will act out on my better self. And but it became very crucial for me to recognize that I am just a human. I accept my humanity for what it is. It needs development. It needs nurturing. It needs for me to focus on the things that are not working well for me and try to figure those things out and get it turned around. But what I've learned is that to the degree that I can accept my own humanity, I find that I'm better at accepting other people's humanities. And so things like my sexual preferences or my political opinions, um, other things you can add in other ideas yourself. Those things stopped becoming points of judgment towards other people. I stopped judging people because they believed politically this way, or they loved this person, or they had this particular religious perspective. I was able to stop judging people because they thought differently than how I thought. And so I was able, over the course of this long deconversion, this deep deconversion process, I was able to remove the idea of depravity and stop believing in such a bad idea. And then the other thing is matter of deserved judgment, which really is playing a very crucial role in why the world feels so chaotic and so confused. Because most Christians that I know, even whether they identify as Christian, most people that I know believe that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and deservedly so. And that idea of deserved punishment, I was able to successfully replace with hope. And I'm sorry, a pork chop is wanting to play fetch, and I better stop. Let me throw it one more time. Let it go, buddy. Don't. You're going to bump the camera, and then I'm going to get pissed off, and my sinful nature is going to come out. Okay? Knock it off. Okay, here you go, buddy. I was able to replace that idea of deserved judgment, apocalypticism, with hope. And I know that people are just, you can jump all over this if you feel free to. You're, people say, Ken, you're naive. Yeah, all right, yeah, cool, I'm naive, right? But I have hope. Not going to pop. I have hope in humanity. I have hope for humanity. I believe there's more people like me on the planet than there are of the wicked. The Bible is always describing the whole world as wicked. No, it's not. No, it's not. Criminal statistics always stay within this relatively narrow percentile of human behavior. Most of us are just trying to do what we're all trying to do. Raise our family, love our partners, leave a little bit of good behind in the world if we can. That's what most of us are trying to do. And so I have stopped believing that we're just hell bent for hell. Instead, I choose to believe that we can find our way through these problems. We can find resolutions to the things that are plaguing humanity. If we can find cooperation, if we can do it, if we can be, but we're just evolved primates. There's no divine stamp of, God on our lives. It's just us trying to figure our shit out, if you don't mind me saying it that way. So over this course of this deconversion, I was able to successfully replace the god awful ideas of moral depravity. I was able to replace that with the acceptance of my own humanity. This is me. This is who I am. And I finally gotten to the point that, hey, I don't mind who I am. And also replacing that idea of deserved judgment with hope. Hope that people like me can find a way through the challenges that we face as a societies, as a species, really, as we're facing things like, climate change. So it can be done. You can even do it late in life. Look at me. Hell, I didn't start this stuff until I was well into my 50s. And here I am, 66 years old. And I've made remarkable changes. But it began with getting rid of bad ideas, hurtful ideas, judgmental ideas that are unfortunately, very common in most monotheistic religions. So those are my thoughts for this morning on this cloudy, overcast Cuenca morning. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give me a like. If you want to comment, post a comment down there. I'll try to reply to ones. If you come at me preaching, hey, you're going to depend on my mood. I may be nice. I may not be nice. Depends on how I perceive your niceness in the comment. But also, if you want to subscribe away. I'd appreciate that. Also, I'm going to try to produce more videos. I've got some other ideas that I want to talk about. Other bad ideas that I've replaced with better ideas. And then I also want to talk a little bit about why the Bible became such a disappointment to me. I hope you'll find that video very, very interesting. So until the next time, this is Kenneth Hayes, and I am the deep deconversionist. I hope you have a great day and take care of yourself. That's really, really important. Okay? Peace out.